Yo, what is going on, YouTube? Hope you guys are doing fantastic today. Today, we're going to be talking about Season 10, our hopes, my hopes, maybe they're our hopes for Season 10, what we want to see changed, what we want just to make the game as good as possible, stuff outside of the game, inside the game. And yeah, some of this will be a little repetitive from that Season 9 video, where it was just stuff that I don't like about the game right now. I think it was like, let's talk about Season 9. If you haven't seen that video, it'll be somewhere up here from Mario, somewhere. We'll be talking about just what we want for Season 10, what I want for Season 10, and yeah, I hope you guys enjoy the video. So first thing I want to talk about is this tweet by Leon. He's a Smite player. He's SCC or SOC, one of them. High-level player, and he tweeted this. Smite players, diminishing returns, Invader's Curse, Brawlers, anti-healing, global, just like the anti-heal global thing that covers you if you're not in combat. Is it healthy for the game or is it bad for the game? And this kind of got a lot of people talking. As you see, got about 6,000 views. A lot of people were interested in the discussion. A lot of people actually typed to talk about this discussion. So I figured I would kind of weigh in, make it into a YouTube video, and then talk about some other things that I want for Season 10, mainly referring to more outside of the actual gameplay. Let's start with the first one, diminishing returns. I think diminishing returns are healthy for the game. However, I do think that DR is in a spot where it is super overbearing, and it makes tanks a lot harder to deal with if they get ahead. Think about a soul laner. He rotates over. He has no CCR built into his kit, but he is a level up on everybody else on your team. Nobody else is even within a level. So he's like 18. The rest of everyone else on your team is at least 16, maybe 17, whatever way it is. To kill this guy, you either have to burst him before he can get all that DR stacked onto him, before he becomes, I think it's 0.4 seconds is the minimum that you can get CC'd once you get CC'd 4 times. But he has to take that much damage. And if he is 2 levels up on you, it is going to be a lot harder to shut him down. I think a better way to do this is to make the minimum DR a lot higher, almost I think twice as high, so that it allows you to use your CC and to stack it. And if you use your CC correctly, it keeps on stacking until a point where you're still going to be getting some value out of your CC. But currently, nothing feels worse than me, I don't know, Fafnir hammering the enemy soul laner who's rotating over. And then my Scylla also follows up with a root, times it well also, so she's not immediately free. And then my Hunter also tries to hit him with some CC. But that Hunter CC lasts 0.4 seconds. So we have my CC, the Scylla CCs, and that's about it until she's just immune to like the next, I think it's 15 seconds. She's just basically immune to CCs because that's only going to last 0.4 seconds. I think that feels bad. I think 0.8, I think once you're getting up to 1 second, I think it might be a bit too much. And I think diminishing returns healthy for the game, but I do think that it is too high right now. I think a reduction to it, to how high the diminishing returns can go, is maybe a healthy way to go about it. Obviously 40% and 40% does seem really high. I actually think it's maybe, is it 20% stacking 4 times now? I think they changed it. But yeah, I think diminishing returns is slightly too strong right now, but I still think it is healthy for the game. Number 2, Invader's Curse. I, like most supports, Mike said it a bunch, Aurora said it a bunch, do not like Invader's Curse. I feel like it is a crutch fix to the game, and I think that they've done that a few times. I think it is a crutch fix to the game, and I don't think it necessarily fixes the game. I think it makes the game dumbed down. Now you can pick just about anything you want in the jungle and be nearly guaranteed level 2. I think that is bad. I think that is bad mechanics for the game. I think if the best possible way to play the game is to throw away your early game as a support, people should try to figure out how to play against that, or something else should be implemented that is not Invader's Curse to just all out just stop it from happening. Maybe something where your Boombas has an execute when it gets below 30%, so you can burn it a lot quicker, and then you don't have to worry about it getting out secured or something like that. Something like that I think makes it healthier, and I think it allows supports to play the game differently. And if they do play it perfectly, like they blink in and they get your speed buff, they don't just die for it after because of the Invader's Curse. So I think Invader's Curse is bad for the game. So starting off again, diminishing returns healthy, Invader's Curse bad for the game. And then number 3, I think I've talked this about on stream a lot. This is one of my least favorite changes Smite's ever implemented. I think it was a super bad change to the game and how the game is played, because it makes anti-heal work very strangely. And I think it is very bad for the game. The entire point of Brawler's Anti-Heal Global is to stop people from going out of combat, healing up to full health, and then going back into combat. Unfortunately, that just happens anyway. That just the nature of healing. That is what a healing comp does. That is how you want to play healing comps. And I don't think healing comps should be punished by this Brawler's Anti-Heal Global or whatever its like actual classified name is. I don't think it should be punished because of that. I think healing is in a very strange spot where healing in this game is absolutely busted, but there's a bigger fish in the ocean called Onk that just absolutely makes healing horrendous. So it's even worse. So Onk makes in-combat healing terrible. Brawlers makes out of combat healing terrible. So now what is the reason to play a healer? There really is none. The reason to play a healer is the same reason to play Vamana. Fingers crossed and they don't build Onk. That's how you play a healer against another comp. And I think that is a bad way for the game to be changed. I think there's much healthier ways to change healing, make grouped healing a lot weaker, make healing to yourself just as strong as it is, make anti-heal also not as strong, maybe have it cap at like 60, maybe 80%. So then you're playing hell and you're not literally healing yourself for 0. That is a very, very bad feeling as a healer, is just not getting a single heal because they just have so much anti-heal, because maybe you picked Afro first pick and your solo laner decided this was a Vamana game they wanted to play, so you're just screwed. I think anti-heal needs to have a cap of maybe like 80% or something like that. And then healing as a whole also needs to be toned down a little bit. And I think Onk, both iterations now, because I think both are strong. I think the purple one is still stronger, but I think they're both still very strong. I think they also need to be toned down. But I think this for the game as a whole is very, very bad for the game. So for the most part, I think almost all this is bad for the game. I think diminishing turns is fine, but I do think it's a little bit strong right now. And then I saw this tweet, and I just want to talk about this one also. Reduce the effects 100%. Reduce them. They should still be there, but it should be reduced. Invader's Curse 100% should be removed. Removing anti-heal, that's the brawlers thingy, remove that 100%. Remove the 50% gold and XP gain for invading, put it back to 800%. 100%. Why was this ever changed? This just allows late game gods to just become an absolute nuisance. And it's just like another thing where instead of fixing the problem, it's just another patch just over it. Remove the catcher mechanic. Yeah, 100% should be gone. This was implemented to make supports in ranked feel better, but it's just abused at a competitive level. This is part of the reason that invading would be so strong right now, is because even if you fall behind, it doesn't matter. You can just get the catch-up mechanic and just be back to farming just as well. And then this one, I don't really have too much to speak on. I think the RNG within waves is not that much. I think sometimes it can happen, but I really don't think that is that big of a problem, because most of the time, if you're letting like 6 waves meet, at that point, you're playing bad Smite, because Smite at its core as a farming game, you should be farming minion waves. If you're doing too much fighting and not farming, then you're playing the game wrong. Obviously, it should still be fixed if it can be, but I don't find that as big of a problem as the other 5 that he stated. That is some of the more in-game type of changes. I think Smite really needs some changes to the Pro League. I think the Pro League is still not a great place. I've talked about the UI. I know you guys... Some of you guys don't mind how the UI looks. I personally still don't like it. I think it looks really 2010-ish-y. I think the game could use some updating in that way. I think the Pro League should realistically have a major league and a minor league. I'm at a point where the Pro League has been set up to such a weird spot now where almost everything about it just feels very bad. You have 8 teams, but you have to be in NA. You have 2 SEC leagues, 1 in NA, 1 in EU. And then you have 2 amateur scenes, SOC and NA and EU, but you can only play in the Pro League and NA. So it makes it feel bad to be an EU SEC player, because the best competition you'll ever get over there is the SEC players. There's no SPL players you can play against in ranked. Realistically, in my brain, the thing that sounds the best to me and would make Smite something that I would really look forward to for the Pro League is obviously back to NAEU, but keep it on LAN. I think LAN is really great. I know it's not something you guys see as much, and I think Hi-Rez has done okay with what they could do with LANs. I really think they could do a lot more, but I think there should be an NA Pro League and an EU Pro League. There should be minor leagues underneath both of them, and then amateurs underneath all of them. And it could be either 6 and 6, even like 6 and 6 is fine. And then the minor league teams are 6 and 6 also. I can't remember how they classify them in league, but I know it's like academy team and then the real team. And it's basically like this minor league team is a part of the major league team. So think of it like a farming system kind of. I think that makes a lot of sense. And then when you have teams that lose players to getting dropped or getting an offer somewhere else, you can call up one of your other players that you want to be able to replace, or call over someone else's team and then they have a player to replace. I think it just makes the entire thing make more sense. And then you don't have to worry too much about players moving from EU to NA. They already have a league in EU that they would just have to move to England instead of across the entire pond, or wherever it would be in EU. I just assume England, because I think that's where the biggest player base in Europe is. I think it's in the UK, but don't know too much about that, just kind of spitballing. But I think that would be really sick for the Pro League, and that would interest me a lot as a fan first and foremost. I haven't been a fan for too long because I've been playing in the Pro League for a lot, but I think that would make the league a lot more entertaining to watch. And then I really do think best of ones in the regular season should just become the answer. I don't think best of threes are needed in regular season. It makes best of threes in playoffs just feel like not as impactful, and then every game doesn't really matter. Maybe that's more of a personal thing. Maybe you guys don't mind that as much, but personally, I think best of ones make a lot more sense. And then if one team comes out and they just have this super sick strat, they get a win. You have to be able to adapt right then and there. It's not like you have multiple games against it. If you even think about every other major league sport, no other sports, I know I'm comparing Smite to a sport, so it doesn't make a ton of sense. Maybe it doesn't make a ton of sense. To me, it makes sense. If you're playing in the NBA, the MLB, the whatever, you don't play the same team multiple times in a row right that day. Like in the MLB, you play like over 4 days, you play 4 games or whatever, but you just play like that one game, and that one game is what matters. It doesn't matter if they cheesed you out or did some super cool pick and roll and they got a big lead, or they had this 3-point shooter that hasn't played a lot, but he's coming off the bench and he's hot and they're getting him the ball. It doesn't matter. That day is just that day. If you're losing on that day, they were the better team that day. And I think that makes every game feel more important. You have to be more locked in instead of showing up, not giving a damn, get day one or game one, and then showing up game 2, game 3, and kind of winning. That's my opinion. Obviously, you guys can disagree, but that is how I think the Pro League would feel a lot better and would look a lot better as a viewer. Lastly, for Season 10, I want to see a pretty big item overhaul. I think the items have kind of gotten a little stagnant, a little boring. Starter items were absolutely insane, but that is now 2 years ago. And I think you kind of have to keep the game fresh with changes like that. Or it might have even been 3 years ago. Whenever the starter items were added, the starter items were fantastic. 10 out of 10. Absolutely loved them. I think something needs to be done with items, because I think currently the item store and items aren't great. I think hybrid items have always been super strong because they're statted super well, or they're just absolutely terrible because they're no stats for really bad passive and really expensive, whatever. I think a pretty big item overhaul would be pretty sick. That's wishful thinking, probably. I think they like the item shop as is, but that's just what I would want. And then lastly, what I want to talk about is the gods and balancing. I have absolutely loved the direction of balancing and the gods and everything about them for the last probably year, maybe year and a half, 2 years, whatever it is. I think they've done really, really well with balancing. I know 9.5 has been it has split the audience of some people absolutely loved it, some people absolutely hated it. I'm in the boat where I don't really care. I don't think it changes the game inherently. It just makes the game slightly easier early game, and I don't think that's necessarily a bad thing. I think making the game easier via, whichever one it is. We'll say via. Hopefully I don't get yelled at. Via changes like that, just making you a little bit tankier, making items, tier 1 items, a little bit worse. I think that is a way better way to go about making the game easier than diminishing returns and Invader's Curse and the Brawler's anti-heal and the catch-up mechanic. I like that a lot more. I know it's not everyone's favorite, but personally, I don't think it's the worst thing ever. If they really thought the game was too dependent on the early game and people are getting punished too easily at the casual level, I think it was fine. But that is all we've got to talk about today. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. I hope you guys are excited for Season 10. I am. We've got Worlds going on really soon. Actually, after this video is dropped, maybe it's already started Worlds, but we'll have a Worlds qualifier going on right now. Let's see, what day is it? The 5th. It starts on the 5th. So January 5th, the Worlds qualifiers. I'm going to be live on Twitch. If you guys are interested in that, check that out. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Hope you guys have a wonderful rest of your day. See you guys again next time. Peace.